Another piece of the picture you have to understand is where we get our energy from today. 80% of the world's energy comes from fossil fuels: oil, coal, and gas. The rest of it, about another 20%, comes from nuclear power and from hydroelectric power. There's a good reason that fossil fuels dominate, says the guy from the oil company, right? Fossil fuels are plentiful. Despite what you may hear about oil running out, coal running out, there is plenty for decades. It's available. It is economic relative to other possibilities. And it's easy to use. We know how to use it. Renewables, and particularly the renewables apart from hydroelectric power, are only 3% of the world's energy right now. We expect that they will grow rapidly due to a variety of governmental policies and social forces. But even by 2030, they will still be a pretty small fraction of the world's total energy under business as usual. So, if we need energy for development and we've got plenty of fossil fuel energy available, what is the problem? Or what are the problems, really? And there are really two for the U.S. One of the problems can be stated as security of supply. It's sometimes, in my mind, misstated as energy independence. We need to have a secure and reliable source of energy for transportation, liquid energy, crude oil, if you like. And security of supply for the U.S. is mostly about liquid hydrocarbons. If you live in Europe, you're also concerned about security of supply for natural gas. But for the U.S., it is about liquid hydrocarbons for transportation. One symptom of that concern is that right now the countries in OPEC hold more than 70% of the known oil reserves, but produce less than 40% of the amount of oil that's produced every day. The countries outside of OPEC, including the U.S., many other countries in the OECD, are pumping very hard, exploring very hard. OPEC is holding on to a lot of reserves. That's not a very happy situation. First of all, the market is not a free market. You read in the papers about OPEC trying to decide how much they will and will not produce and what they think the price should be for oil. It has an issue of balance of payments. At $70 oil, which is about what it is right now, the U.S. is sending $840 million a day abroad. And you do the math, and that works out to about, how much? Come on, $300 billion a year? It's a good chunk of change that we're sending abroad. Finally, because oil is so important to the way we've structured our society right now for transportation, relying on distant lands with potential instabilities is not a particularly wise strategy. The second problem, apart from the security of supply issue, is the issue of greenhouse gases. We know for sure that fossil fuels, when used in the way that we use them now, are causing a significant increase in atmospheric carbon dioxide. And we have every reason to expect unpleasant and perhaps catastrophic climate impacts from that increase in greenhouse gas concentration. And at the very least, there will be significant acidification of the oceans within a century if we keep on going the way we're going. And so we have to work very hard on reining in greenhouse gas concentrations. That means reining in greenhouse gas emissions, mostly starting with stationary sources. Heat and power account for about 80% of the greenhouse gas emissions worldwide from fossil fuels. Transportation, although it's the most visible manifestation of energy, worldwide is only about 20% of greenhouse gas emissions. The administration has made a significant commitment to taking on global leadership in addressing both of these problems simultaneously. It has set a goal of reducing oil imports by an amount equivalent to how much the U.S. imports from the Middle East every year. That's about every day. That's about 3.5 million barrels a day of our total of about 12 million barrels a day of oil imports. And it has also set a goal of reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 20% in 2020 relative to 1995, and a further goal of getting down by 80% by 2050. These are significant and challenging goals, and reaching them will require fundamental changes in how the U.S. produces and uses energy. If we can achieve them, the benefits will be greater security and reduced potential for catastrophic climate change. However, achieving them is not going to be easy, it will not be inexpensive, and it will not be rapid to achieve these. Let me talk about that last point, particularly important.